Yeah.
Appreciate you pointing that out.
What what can you tell us about West Virginia?
And really good team. Obviously, they've had a ton of impactful wins. I mean, you don't beat programs like Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas if you're not a really good team, really connected, have a great plan. They're playing extremely hard. Javon Small, probably one of the more aggressive players in the country, extremely valuable to their team. Does a great job being aggressive, setting the tone, making plays for himself, his teammates, playing with tremendous level of confidence. And then what stands out to me and impresses me about me is older guys. You can tell that they know what the team needs them to do to be successful, and that night in and night out, they're committed to that plan. Not yet. Again, I think we're looking 4 to 6 weeks range is probably what where we're looking at things. There's still a little bit going on to try to figure everything out, but I'd say that's probably the place that we'll land on, and it'll just really depend on, as we get closer to that timeline, how his hand progresses, how he feels, and making sure that we're doing what we can to be in the best interest of his health and safety.
Will he be able to avoid surgery or surgery?
We're hopeful of that. Yeah, we're hopeful of that. I think that's what we're hoping right now, and just want to make sure we've crossed every T and dotted every I to make sure that is indeed the case. But we're hopeful that will be the course of action.
Without him on the floor, what are, I guess, the concerns you guys will try to mitigate offensively?
Well, obviously the number one thing being his ability to shoot the ball, score the ball, and how does that impact things and what we're doing out there. Because I feel like he's done a lot, and teams focus on him, are very aware of him that way. And so how does that impact our offense? How do we need to be adaptive and those sort of things? So we're still, like the other night, and that's something we're still working through because we haven't had a lot of time on the practice court without him yet, so we're still building it.
You already noticed teams loading the paint against Key with Milan still playing to try to keep him out of the paint but contained?
Yeah, there's definitely everybody has their base team defense. There's coaches like at Utah, at Texas Tech. They're very personnel driven of how they defend. So choices they're making on other guys may be more extreme than some that we've seen. And so you're seeing certain guys are being played as like a no dribble split to really sit in the gap until the pass goes. Other guys, maybe they're feigning immediately to get the shooters. So I think there's a lot of personnel-driven things people are doing defensively and had been doing already against us defensively. It would be wise to assume that will continue moving forward.
How important? I mean, Keyshawn and Taman both have been incredible three-point threats, and that Milan. But the fact that they're shooting it from three, what does that give the defense? Just teams having that.
Yeah, I think both guys shoot the ball better than even their makes and percentage dictates right now. And whether it's what we saw from Taman starting the year last year, how well he shot it, what we saw from Keyshawn toward the conclusion, how well he shot it, or at specific points in time, the confidence they have to knock it down. Both those guys put a ton of time into making those shots and have confidence in doing so. And I think it is just like everybody has to step up when somebody's down. Those guys just being a little bit more mindful of, getting my feet set and being ready to knock down that opportunity will be important for our offense.
Given how Wednesday night's game played out, do you expect rotation to more or less stay the same the way you guys adjusted with Milan out, barring anyone missing mandatory meeting or something?
Yeah, no, it looks like with our group we've been really good at that with that rotation at 8 and now with D-Watt, the performance he had the other night, very impactful. I think felt like where we got better on the glass, it was probably as good of a rebounding game as we've had, certainly against a team that's bigger and more physical as well. So that was a huge positive. And I feel like with Demarion, he's been in this spot for us before. He understands what we need from him and what he can bring to the team, and I think he takes a tremendous sense of pride. And certainly he was ready, which is the coolest thing about how he was ready to step up and step in and do a great job for us.
How has he developed in his time here, Demarion?
Yeah, I'd say, more than anything, it's his understanding of the game. When it comes down to his gifts on the court. Defensively, we've always leaned into his ability to guard multiple positions. I think can be an instinctive defender, a guy who can be disruptive, which aligns very much with the way that we play defense. I know oftentimes when people talk about development, that only it counts for like dribble, pass, and shoot, but I think development is mental. I think development is team basketball. I think development is rebounding. And the one area right now where we can really count on him is on the glass. And that's something that will continue to be important. And then, even the block he has the other night, development is being able to read plays and be a playmaker offensively and defensively. And I feel like he did that as well. So the things that he's done for us in the past and what we saw on Wednesday, we're going to continue to challenge him to do those and even more as we move forward.
What is Deshaun responding the way that he did on Wednesday with one of his best games of the season, kind of saying that his resiliency and ability to kind of respond from a challenging moment?
Yeah, I think it's a testament to his character, certainly. I feel like for most of us, when something's not to go our way, we all hit that spot of, okay, how am I going to regroup? How am I going to approach this? How am I going to attack this? What's my response going to be? And what we saw from Deshaun from the time that he missed the film session, as he moved forward, he took the accountability. I think he almost felt like, whether he had let himself down or let his teammates down and needed to really step up to prove to them that he is with them, and this is important. I thought his response was really good.
I think last week when we were in here, you talked about Curtis kind of taking accountability for things that happened within the program when he was at Buffalo. You talked about it there with Deshaun. How much of that is like a character trait that you guys look for and create when you're recruiting?
Yeah, I think self-awareness is a very important thing, and understanding where you can be better. I think so many times when something isn't to go well, most people, or the majority that I've encountered, right away point to something outside the realm of their control, what somebody else did, what somebody else could have done, didn't do, or how that, all those external factors. Guys that we tend to do the best with are the ones that look intrinsically. If something's not to go my way, what are the things I need to do, will do, and focus on to change that? And I think we've seen, with guys, certainly Curtis has had that ability, and I feel like that was something that really stood out to me the first time I talked to him. He had a tough year at Buffalo. Coach, was a good friend of mine, was let go, and team didn't have a great year. And the one thing that Curtis shared over and over is what he could have done more as a leader, what he wished he'd have done better, not look at anybody else and point blame. And the guys that are able to do that have seemingly been the guys that have had really, been successful here.
During that 1 month hiatus, I guess you could say, in between games, how would you evaluate Demarian's attitude and effort during, that 1 month layoff? Did he pout about playing time? Just how was he as a player and teammate?
No, he definitely didn't pout. I would say that, initially, when you're in your junior year, your third year, I think for everybody it would be reasonable that you would want to play more, maybe more than what you had gotten in the past. And so I'm sure there had to be feelings on his end just prior to Christmas of, man, I've put a lot into this program, I've done a lot to help, and I would like to play more. It would be disingenuous to assume he would feel any way other than that. That's how he should feel. Yet, I'm confident, from the time that when he returned from the Christmas break and how he worked, that he took matters into his own hands and said, look, I don't really get to control how I play or the amount of time that I play, but what I will control is how I work. And his level of confidence immediately, on less than a 24-hour turnaround to knowing that he went from, not playing essentially right into the rotation, he had himself so ready for that moment, and so that it's a credit to him and why he played well. So there's not been any pouting. He's always been a tremendous teammate. His character always shows up and shines. We've seen that, and I think that's why the fans appreciate him so much. You see the recognition that he gets when he goes into the game and when he makes a play. I think it's the fans saying, we know this always hasn't been easy for you, but we see the great job that you're doing for our program.
And forgive me if I don't have the proper terminology, but sometimes I've noticed that if you have a big in the post and you have a guard or someone driving into the lane, sometimes the big will kind of, it's like a post up or a box out to help kind of clear the way for the guard or whoever's slashing. Is that something you coach? It seems like a little detail that seems to help.
Yeah, look, I think some guys have a natural ability to make some of those plays, and then there's some parts of it that we're trying to develop. I think for us, our guards are dynamic in being able to score the ball, get downhill, and make plays. So if you're the opposing defense, you have to probably start planning how are we going to prevent that, which then allows our bigs to get underneath the defense, right? If you're going to bring two to the basketball, and what we want to do a great job of with our bigs when they get underneath the plays, you're either going to be sealing, you're going to be rim running, looking for the lob, the late roll, and specifically, a guy like Brant innately, makes that play, sets like that screen, almost like a second screen, right? And in the NBA, they after Gortat, let's call it a Gortat screen. That's something Brant does well, and it's something that Deshaun from time to time is incorporating as well. It's just another thing that allows us to continue to keep our offense flowing, to get downhill, to get to the rim, to get to the foul line, which is, what we really want to strive to do.
How do you build that awareness with a guy like Deshaun who's like still working on it, or does it just come with repetition?
Yeah, I think it's repetition. I mean, we spent a lot of time working on our pick and roll attack. 2-on-2, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and just guys getting comfortable playing, for each other and together. I think, people talk a lot about, like when you're making a play for a teammate, that's a pass, and that's one way to do it. But screening, cutting, there's so many other ways to make a play for a teammate, and we're fortunate our bigs, continually make that play to free up the guards to be able to get downhill.
How important is it to be able to have the ability to punish a defense for making that choice to send your veteran friend?
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't been a team up to this point that's shot a lot of threes. It's not that we haven't shot it well; we just haven't been as much volume. I think when we try to aim everything, especially in transition, is to attack the paint and attack downhill. So my guess is on the other side, they're trying to figure out how to neutralize it. How do we keep them out of the paint? How do we clog the paint? How do we bring multiple defenders? And then at that point, the defense is probably hoping that means we're going to settle for contested twos, non-paint threes, and things along those lines. And we've been fortunate; our guys have stayed resilient to continue to hunt those opportunities in the paint, get to the rim, get to the foul line, and over the entire shot clock. Like there's times you get there fast in transition. There's times you get there in a quick action. One area where we're aiming to continue to be better is when we need to have a longer possession to continue to find ways to have multiple attacks to the paint until we find the right opportunity.
Coach DeVries was just about 30, 40 minutes down the road. Did you guys have any relationship when he was at Drake? And I guess at the same time, what's been so impressive about his ability to essentially build an entirely new roster and have a fairly good level of success?
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other certainly a long time. He was an assistant at Creighton, and I was an assistant here. And then as Coach McDermott, went to Creighton and he was working with him, we would stay in communication and that sort of thing. And then even when he first got the job at Drake, and we had talked a little bit in regards of like some of the things when we first came in at South Dakota State, things to think about. So always have had tremendous respect for Coach DeVries. He's a good man, good coach, and he's doing a great job with his program. And it's not a surprise the start that they're off to. So, like I said, I have a lot of respect for him, and it's great to see them doing well. And hopefully, we're pulling for them all the games except for Saturday.
How much is the dynamic of, especially Joshua, hitting Deshaun in tight windows for dunks and things like that, a function of their chemistry, and also a function of you guys expanding the playbook, maybe adding to it to incorporate things that take advantage of their dynamic?
Yeah, I think those two guys get along great. They have a tremendous relationship, that chemistry and synergy, and I think they have a relationship like a brotherhood where they want to look out for one another. So we spend a lot of time interior passing in practice. Those guys innately have the ability to look for one another. I think with Joshua, he's such a unique player because in tighter areas and closer confines, he's able to make reads and plays that a lot of guys get sped up, and he innately makes. And then Deshaun is oftentimes the beneficiary because his ability to score the basketball and attack the rim. So it's obviously all of it has to work together. It has to be their chemistry. It has to be our consistent practice habits that lean into it. And then, the focus on doing those things, in the reality of the game.
Hey, TJ.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.